guys.
Hey.
Welcome back to the Updownstate podcast. Our last episode, we talked a little bit about apologizing. We did a little bit of bullshit. It was a little heavy. This one would be a little heavy too.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to kind of talk to you, and Beth is going to explain kind of how we got here, why we worked so hard to change our dynamic, and kind of like part of what happened. Because we had this thing not happened, we may not have changed the dynamic, right? Yeah. We could be on the same road of continuing abuse. So
I think we just want to clarify kind of like what,
because we didn't just change overnight. Yeah. We didn't just grow up to be woke people, right?
Yeah, how we decided that we needed to change the cycle, right? Because like I want to like elaborate on the fact of like we had a lot of help.
Yeah.
To do that. So when we were kids, and I want to be fair, like our parents are products of their childhood. And none of us hold any of that stuff against them, right? And like they parented and raised children the way that they knew how, based upon how they were raised, their parents were raised, just like everyone out there who's part of a generational trend, right? Mm-hmm. So, but for us, we had a very, kind of not the worst. We didn't have the worst childhood out of any kids in the world, right?
No.
We had, issues of, there was physical abuse in the home, there was emotional abuse, all kinds of abuses in the home where, it's not a healthy environment for a family or anyone, right? So, but that's all that families knew. And when we grew up, it was our normal until it wasn't, right? Like we didn't go to school and say, I got a whooping last night that was definitely over a spanking. It was an ass whooping. It was abuse,
yeah,
right?
There was things that
it was just normal.
There were tools involved.
Like to give you an example, like just to give an example, like I was punched in my face as a child in front of my friends, right? By an adult. So, those are things that I'm talking about. And I listen to people sometimes that say like, well, I don't understand why people don't say something. Well, because it's just normal to you. Like, you're in that environment and you don't think there is anything different, right? So,
and they're not always doing this abuse in front of people.
Right.
And the people that they usually are doing it in front of are people they're comfortable doing it in front of.
Yes, exactly.
And as the person being abused, you don't really talk about it.
Right.
Like, you're not out there telling everybody.
Right, and it's not like you want to go to school and tell your friends, like, hey, I got my butt whooped by my dad last night.
I got punched in the face,
I went home last night and got told about how fat and worthless I was. Like, right? Like, those are things that you're not going to go tell your friend about that you want to hang out with, right?
What you might do is go to school and bully somebody because you're being bullied at home.
Maybe.
So I always try to tell my kids, like, if somebody's bullying you, make sure they're okay. Because I was not a nice kid a lot of the times. Because I was bullied in school, but also because I was bullied at home and at school, I would bully somebody that was vulnerable. And that was, if I've ever, I am so sorry, but...
Yeah, so look,
and that's not an excuse for my behavior. I was a child, but I hate that was even a thing for me.
We went through that for several years, right? So I was 12 years old, and Nichole was 13, so Brian would have been 8?
Yeah.
So Brian was 8 years old, so he's still very young. And we had just kind of a blow-up moment.
Yeah, there was an incident.
There was a major incident where the law got involved and CPS got involved, and what stemmed from that was, court-ordered counseling and therapy. There was, separation in the home. Our parents had to live separate for, it was over a year before... anything else happened.
Our mother and us had to live separate.
Yes, our mother and us had to live separate from our father for a year. That's how the dynamic was. And they had to go through their own therapy and all that stuff. And there was a lot of stuff that happened. And I say that because I want you guys to have the background of kind of what led up to like the change, right? Because what I will say is that was a very difficult time for our family. We went through all kinds of things. It gave me years of trauma and years of just, it took me a long time to heal from that. I'm still healing from that stuff today.
Yeah.
But I went down a really dark path after that time, even after the counseling and stuff like that.
Definitely like self-medicating with like alcohol.
And yes. So,
well, it's important to talk about that stuff.
It is. I definitely went into a cycle of alcohol, inappropriate relationships, like all the things. I dropped out of school because I couldn't. I had several things, and I'm sure down the line we'll get into some of that stuff. But I had several things where, I like to think that I probably had a pretty good runway in athletics had I been able to keep my head straight.
Yeah, I would 100%
think
agree with
that. I got in my own way because of my inability to be whole and healed, that I really jeopardized and ruined a lot of that for myself. And that's no one's fault but my own. That piece of it. That's how it's my fault. For not dealing with the things how I should and not, and not.
But again, I mean, even then, again, you're still a child.
I was a child,
Even
but I wasn't. I was a
teenager.
child when it happened. I didn't really give myself the time for myself that I needed until I was in, 19, 20 years old and on from there. So, but anyway, so.
I'm just saying, give yourself some grace.
Had we not gone through the situation where we were appointed a wonderful, CPS gets a real bad rap. But I would just like to say, I don't remember her last name, but there was a lady, her name was Wendy, that was our representative when that stuff first happened. And she saved us, in my opinion. She was very much about us.
Yeah. And she made it known.
Yes.
Like if
very
you were
vocal.
Our parents or anybody else, she was there for us.
I remember
and she
her.
was going to tell you.
Like, no, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
This is what you'll do for
Stop
these
making
children.
it about you.
Or you'll lose them.
Yeah.
So and to give my parents the credit, they put in a lot of work. And I will tell you, I wholeheartedly say that my parents are not the same people that they were when all those things were going on when we were children. They put in years of work with each other, years of work as parents, so when down the line, when they were able to make their family whole again, it was a very much a better,
very
different environment in the household. At that point, I will tell you at that point, there was still some stuff that lingered. So when we talk about like how I self-medicated and stuff like that, I definitely called stressors when they came back in because there was a lot of stuff that we still had to heal from. But they did put in the work, and they are different people. And there is not a time that I feel like they are not loving grandparents to our children and stuff like that. They definitely, I think, have a grandparent role that is a much nicer thing than ours.
Well, that's most grandparents.
It is, but I don't want to give them a bad rap of like, this is who they are. It's not who they are today, but we went through a hard time as a family. And I think, when you look at that stuff, we have family, very close family that grew up the same way as our parents. Right, their parents, and so their children had the same childhoods that we had, but then for their entire childhoods had that. They never had the situation where their childhood maybe exploded like ours did, and they didn't have that forced intervention.
Step in.
Right, so.
And I give them all the credit because I know at least Tiffany raises her children very different than how she was raised. I give credit to all of us, but I especially give credit to people that change the dynamic without that.
Without something major
it's
happening.
So, kudos to you. You're so strong for doing it. It's
right.
Trying to change the cycle when really the cycle was never changed for them. I mean, in reality, the later part of our childhood, as we got into our later teenage years and stuff, yes, we were dealing with the effects of the trauma, but at that point, we were no longer living it. If that makes sense. And they lived it, and some of them continue to live it with abusive relationships with their parents into adulthood.
Yeah.
So, I think that it goes a long way for people who are stepping up and trying to make that change for their family, to strengthen the dynamic in their family so their kids, are healthier for it.
Yeah.
That's kind of the gist of, without giving too much meat and potatoes, kind of what things stem from.
One thing, so I know we're going to talk about some of the things that we're changing, but one thing that I was going to mention last podcast and I didn't, is that the therapy that our parents went through, and the I'm sorry you feel that way. And I would love to know if they still use that, because I got news for you. That's fucking gaslighting.
Oh, man, I'll tell you. Nothing irritated me more than that statement.
And I get it if it's like a teenager that is doing something bad and you're punishing them and they're upset. I am sorry you feel that way, but what you're doing is wrong. But when you're actually upset at something that somebody did, that is not the phrase, y'all.
Yeah. I would agree.
Yep. And I
What are your thoughts, Brian, over there biting your lip? Because I think
I don't like it.
No.
No, I don't. What's that Chris Evans mean? I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. That no.
I definitely think like for like you, for example, you talk about like your kids' emotions. I think you do a way better job of being like, you wouldn't, I say, like, use the term, I'm sorry you feel that way. You want to use terms like, so tell me why you're feeling this way. So like,
here's my thing is I'm the parent, right? If it's learned behavior, where is it being learned from? If I am the behavior problem, what am I doing, right? But they're children. They don't know better. Where is it coming from?
right.
What makes you think it's okay?
Mm-hmm.
Where did you see this? You know?
Yeah.
And I am extremely lucky that I do give and I know you guys, it's probably too much, but I do give my kids a lot of leniency because I want them to be able to express themselves. I want them to be able to have their feelings. I want them to be able to see the world. I want them to question the world, right? So, and man, my oldest does a great job of that. And question authority, even question me if I'm doing something wrong, because guess what? When she was born, it was my first time being a parent.
Right.
You know, and without listening to your kids, you don't know what they need. So there was actually an anime and we have blocks on her anime for adult content, and this one got through. So she said she found it, and I was like, you know what? Let me check, and they will give me their phone. They will tell me, and I love that. I'm very fortunate. I remember my neighbor telling me about it, and she's like, look, this might be a little too much for her. And so I went back on my text messages, and I was like, okay, this is the one that Jen told me about. And I watched the first 15 minutes of it. And I said, no, can't do it. I'm like, it's just all smut, right? And she's like, there's no character development. And I'm like, doesn't look like it. She's like, I don't want to watch it. I'm like, great. But I know that I can get onto the Crunchyroll and see if she has watched it or not. But in my deepest part, I know that I can trust her to not do that.
Yeah.
I think like for me, when it comes to like stuff like that, like I feel like I want to be heard 100%. As long as, and if she wants to question us, as long as it's done in a respectful manner, then like I'm on board and I'll explain. But like I do still, I think I am harder on, and I think part of that is because of her ADHD. Like she is so reliant on routine and structure and
a very wide filter.
Yeah.
Right? ADHD makes it so hard to filter because your brain is moving at such a pace that it just runs right through it.
Yeah. So you have to like it's different.
And it's really hard for kids.
And you can't it's really hard to explain a gray area to Riley. So like, for example, you know, like your kids are allowed to swear, but they also know that Aunt Beth doesn't like when they swear.
Yeah. And they know they can't do it in front of their grandparents.
And they are aware of that, and they don't swear in front of me.
Right.
They don't swear in front of their grandparents. If I told Riley, you can swear, but you can't swear in front of this person or this person, that's not going to work. She has no filter. So if she's allowed to say it sometimes, she's going to say it all the time. Yeah. So, and then she might say, oops, sorry, after, but she's going to realize after she says it, I wasn't supposed to say that. But at that point, right, it's too late. You just done told your grandparent to F off. Like, you can't, you can't do
and that's
that.
the thing is I try to limit the F word.
Well, yeah.
Right? And Adelaide uses a little, but they really don't do it a lot.
No, they don't.
Like they're not constantly swearing, and I think that part of that is because I haven't made it a forbidden thing.
I remember the first time I swore.
I was into that. I remember
I called somebody a bitch to one of my friends.
Do you remember when I called Mom a bitch and I got liquid Dawn soap in my mouth and I was throwing up bubbles?
Yeah. Anyway.
So that's the kind of stuff we're talking about.
But
I deserve that though. I mean, a bar soap probably would have been better, but you know, I guess all we had was liquid Dawn at
you
the
do
time.
not deserve that. That is
I know. I'm just saying. I mean,
because
you
why?
That Christmas story and the kid with a bar of soap in his mouth, right? So
those are the things I'm talking
I
about.
called my mom a bitch.
That's the things I'm talking about. Why did you feel like you could do that? Where did you hear that word? And why did you think it was okay?
Well, I knew I couldn't do that. That's why I ran. But then my stupid self ran into a corner and got trapped. And I ran into some dish detergent.
Yeah, but the dish detergent, guess what? It doesn't actually wash the words out of your mouth.
Well, but it can make bubbles come out of your nose. Yeah. If anyone's wondering.
The image I just got. Like those
like a freaking hot tub bubbling like.
Oh god. But that's where you like stuff like that, like trying to figure out why.
The heaviest thing for me, and Brian, you'll get some of these things I think when your kids get a little older. When says to me that hurt my feelings, that hurts my whole heart.
Yeah.
Like, it breaks my whole heart when she'll say something like that. Like, if she comes to me, she's like, if what you said really hurt my feelings or something like that, and I'll apologize. That cuts deep, like, because we had our feelings hurt a lot and no one ever took that into consideration.
Yeah.
So, like, when I hear her feel that she can express to me that her feelings are hurt, I really am happy and appreciate that she'll tell me that. And then I also feel like such shit because I was the cause of that. Yeah, because there's definitely a better way to handle it. Like, when you sit there and we'll say, like, what, because then after we have a conversation on how we got to that point, right? Like, on why I said what I said and what I meant behind what I said, not wanting to really hurt her feelings, but wanting her to understand. And, like, the best thing for her, honestly, is explaining the situation and saying, do you understand why, your friend could feel this way? I'll use the example. I picked her up from a pool party. She was playing with some girls in the pool on her soccer team. I said, hey, come on, get out of the pool. It's time to go. And these girls came across the pool, got out of the pool to say bye to her, right? I said, and I guess maybe I opened the door to this, but I said, hey, tell your friends bye because we got to go. And no filter said, these aren't my friends. I only have one friend here, and called the girl's name. And I and obviously I was like, that's hurtful. Yeah. Because she has no filter. What probably, I know she meant it to be funny and joking, but, I had explained to her in the car, like, I was like, do you understand, like, why that could be hurtful? Because previous to that, the coach had to tell her that she hurt a girl's feelings, and she couldn't tell me what she said that hurt someone's feelings. So I said, do you understand how this stuff can make someone feel bad? Yeah. I said, these kids liked you enough to come over to say bye and talk to you before you left with your parent. I said, how would you feel? Put yourself in their shoes if you were standing in front of them and their parent and they said a comment like that of like, hey, you're not my friend. Could kind of be a little embarrassing or uncomfortable, right? And you have to make her understand what she's creating based on what she says. And then you'll see it in her face once it clicks. Yeah. And she'll be like, oh, I didn't mean for it to be like that. And I'm like, I understand that, but you might want to think about that before you just pop off.
The amount of things, inappropriate things I had said. And that was, like, for me, like, just being yelled at or whatever. And not really knowing, like, maybe what I said was wrong, or, like, not really understanding why. And there's, like, things I actively have to work on.
Well, and so all three of us, we bottle stuff inside.
Oh, yeah.
All three of us. And that's part of not being allowed to express it when we're younger. So now we feel like we have to hold it in. Brian mentioned that in his previous episode where he's had, like, a rough time and a rough go, and he would go to other rooms to feel his feelings.
I got a whole vineyard. You want to talk about bottling stuff up? Yeah. I got a whole vineyard inside of me, homie.
That is something that I never want, like, any of our children to ever feel like they have to do, because it's damaging.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it really is. It can damage your health.
It can damage your relationship too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because what happens when a bottle gets too full, right?
Yeah.
Right. So then you end up saying things you don't mean. You end up being angry or upset at the people that don't deserve it, right? And that's one thing. What I try to do now is I can't always put my feelings into words, right? It's hard because I wasn't allowed to feel them. It's hard for me to put those feelings into words of what I'm feeling, because all I know is I'm feeling like this. That's all I can tell you, right?
Yeah.
So I call them my episodes. So Jeb will, like, come into the room or something, and I'll say, or into the kitchen, I'll say, the other day we had just brought groceries home, and, like, the counters were cluttered, so there was, like, nowhere for me to set stuff, and so that just, like, set me off, right? And I said, I'm having an episode, and he's like, what can I do to help? And I'm like, I just need you to start clearing stuff off, because if I continue with this, then stuff's gonna start getting loud, because I'll be, like, slamming stuff, or, like, or I'm going to get snarky or whatever. But it's hard. It's hard to voice those emotions.
Well, I think that's good for you to even be able to say, like, hey, I'm having an episode. Because, like, for me, I struggle with feeling like I have to handle it. Yeah. That, like, I can't project my feelings and give my wife more to worry about.
I was going to say, you feel like you don't want to burden somebody else with what you feel like is your problem.
Exactly. And I'm not saying I do that all the time. Yeah. Sometimes I'm fine.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes I'm fine.
Yeah, no, like I struggle with that a lot, and honestly, I think for me, the only time it's ever like it came like really to a head was before I made my most recent career switch. I was really struggling, and with COVID and the way that things were going, and I was just carrying so much. People were awful. Like I was carrying so much, and I was really just shut down. Like when I would come home, I was just shut off. I was short tempered. I was irritable. I was not okay.
Do you remember when I was working at the call center? Adelaide said to me, "You're not as nice as you used to be."
Yeah.
That broke my heart, and I left that job.
Yeah.
Soon after.
Well, it took like I wasn't sharing like my days and stuff like that because it was just so much stress that I'm like, I can't unload this on my wife who was in the medical field during COVID, like dealing with so much anyway. And I'm like, I can't unload this on her. And I was bottling it up, but little did I know that it was affecting my marriage. It was affecting my relationship with my daughter. It was affecting everything. Until finally, like my wife was like, there is a problem. I don't know what it is, but you are not happy. And it broke my heart to think that she felt like I was unhappy because of anything she was doing. But that's how it felt to her, because I wasn't upset with her. Yeah. I just was so overwhelmed and not communicating about what was going on that like I just had to change. And I felt like there had no support at work. You know, they pulled all leaders out of the stores. So like leaders sitting in their offices at home talking about, oh, thank you for having your boots on the ground. And I've got associates getting sick and associates dying. And I've got people being terrible and all this stuff. And I just felt like I couldn't release any of it to talk to anybody about it. Yeah. And it was rough. It caused a lot of tightness.
I get that, because before I started this job, and I was at my last place of work, it was the same thing. And what did it for me is, you know, the fact that I was a night shift person, so I would work at night, get home 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, sleep, and basically eat, sleep, do it all over again. But, you know, I felt like I didn't have a chance to really talk to Tara.
Yeah.
Because they worked us so much. I mean, you guys know, I was always every week, 6 days a week, and I would have Sunday off.
So much overtime.
So much overtime and everything. I never had a chance to talk to her. And when I did, like, I just felt like there was so, like, I would see her once a week, so I would try and, if I could,
talk about the bad stuff.
Not talk about like the week's worth of crap that I had. Week on week on week on week on end on end on end. You know, it does. It affects your relationship and everything. And obviously the biggest thing was, you know, I'm missing family events.
Missing kid stuff. And
I'm missing kids' birthdays. I'm missing
driving all the way to freaking.
Yeah, I'm missing kids' birthdays. I'm missing, you know, anniversaries. My wife's birthday. I'm missing all of this stuff. Holidays. Yeah. You know, and all these things, and I'm like, there's got to be something.
Yeah, they're saying it. One benefit, and the reason I say that I will stay at the company I'm in until they kick me out the door, because someone told me a long time ago, they would say that this company will never put itself before your family, but you will put this company before your family, and that's on you. And that was never hit me harder than the first beauty pageant fair that was going to be. I was at work. I just made the transition into an operational manager role, and I had a deep dive walk with like a regional manager. But my boss knew that I had to be out by a certain time because I was supposed to pick Riley up, take her to the fair, so she get her ready for the pageant. So she kept asking me like, "Do you go? Do you go?" I'm like, "No, I'm good. I'm good," because I didn't want to leave the walk, right? I made the decision to stay to the last possible second, even though my boss was trying to kick me out the door. And I did not get to pick up, and I showed up like right before she went on stage. And she got off stage, and the first thing she said was, "Where were you?" Oh my God. Oof. Like, not hi, Bethy, nothing. Yeah. Where were you? Yeah. You were supposed to pick me up. That was the last time I was ever late. Yeah. Like, that stuff matters. I was an athlete. You were an athlete in high school. That stuff, it matters. Right. Seeing your family support you, it matters. That's why I think we do a good job of trying to ask for the schedules, because I know that if the kids are playing soccer, if I can make it to one game, damn it, I'm going to be there. If I can make it work where I can get to one of the kids' games or to a recital or to wherever, So they know that, hey, Aunt Beth supports me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there.
Right. I mean, when I played sports in high school, right, I wasn't a starter. I wasn't a star or anything like
Right.
that. I played. I enjoyed it. Right. And Dad was at every single game,
Yep.
home and away.
Yep.
Didn't matter where we were
Yeah,
at.
he would be.
He was there. And I remember my senior year when Mom and Dad, they were talking about moving here and everything. Selfishly, right, we got into sectionals. The sectional championship game was the same week that Mom and Dad were down here visiting, look at houses or apartments and everything. And I was so hurt because Dad wasn't there.
Yeah.
I know it was important for them to be here because obviously they needed somewhere to live,
Yeah.
right, before they jump ship on me. Anyways,
And the fact that sectionals isn't always guaranteed.
right. And
Yeah.
like it was like my first big like championship game. I mean, my real big first like ever sporting event. It was just like one of those things where I was like, man, this sucked. Like, you know, because obviously I'm celebrating with my team and like
And there's parents in the crowd.
and there's parents in the crowd, and then like all my teammates, like they're hugging their parents or their guardians, you know, who's ever there, and I'm just like,
That's one nice thing about not having to work Saturdays anymore is because I did miss games when I was working on
But you were
Saturdays.
working.
Yeah, I mean there was a couple other times too where like I was on a vacation one time. I was in Florida.
I just think it's so important. I remember
But it's hard too because now sometimes their games overlap, and then you gotta pick what game you're. I usually just stay at the first one.
I will tell you that Mom
at least in my experience.
was not very present in my softball career.
Well, she wasn't in my basketball either.
Like, there was times she was at home when Dad was at my games.
Mhm.
But Dad was always the sports one. Like, he was always one to take
Yeah.
it more seriously. I would have liked to see Mom at more games, but, I mean, she was there. Especially, like, she would go to the travel ball tournament stuff when I was older, but I think some of the younger stuff, quite a bit of. But on the flip side of that, too, like, we're talking about things that we're trying to intentionally change for our children, is, like, when it came to that stuff, like, that sports piece of it. So, like, for me, I guess the downside to being so competitive in softball like I was, people had very high expectations of me. Like Dad had very high expectations for the way that I played. So it was always not a fun time if I didn't have a great game in, like, the car ride home. Or I remember one time,
And let's be clear, she was an excellent player.
I remember one time I was playing in high school and had a game, and I knew I had a bad. I left the locker room at high school and I walked home, and like I didn't want to get in the car, so I walked home. He ended up picking me up like coming through Sedgwick or something like that because I think someone told him that I was walking. And so like with Riley, I'm so intentional about, you know, when she's playing a sport or when she's doing anything, like when she was doing gymnastics or whatever, like I'm always about like, you know, do your best, right? And so like I had my first moment, like it was like last week, she had a game and she did terrible. Like she only played for the first half of the game and she let 4 goals score. I was like so frustrated on the sideline. Like I was like, you know, hollering to the point where I said, you got to use your body in there. And then she does one of the, I am, like yelling from the goal, like leave me alone, you know. So, like I was so intentional, like giving myself this internal pep talk on the way to the car of do not be your father.
Don't be dead. Don't be dead. Don't be dead.
That's exactly what it was. Don't be dead. I was so angry. Like, and I was mad because I'm so competitive. You guys know that. Some of the balls she missed, like, oh, come on. Okay? You could have got that. All right? But she didn't. And so, anyway, I was so frustrated. So I get in the car. She gets in the car. And she's already being hard on herself, which is exactly what an athlete does when they have a bad game. They are already so upset with themselves. They don't need you to say anything.
You're not. Nobody's as hard as you as you are.
Yeah, I was always dwelling on the bad stuff too, but I just maybe needed someone to tell me, you know what, hey, yeah, you had a bad moment, but guess what? You still had 3 RBIs. So I got in the car, she got in the car, and she was upset, and she's like, you know, and she says to me, like, I let my team down, and I was like, this is the moment, because if you were your father, you would say, yeah, you did, but you're not your father. So you're going to say, don't be like that. Did you try your best? That's what we had a conversation. Did you try your best? She said, yeah. I said, okay. I said, you know, and we had a conversation about, I said, look, I said, you know, you have a whole team out there with you. Like, yes, you're supposed to stop from going in the goal, but your team is supposed to take it, you know, not let it get to the goal. You know, so we had that talk instead to where I said, hey, you can't put this all on yourself. There's no I in team. You win as a team, you lose as a team, and there'll be another game
I would say,
in a
yeah,
couple days.
yeah. You take that, you take this. Yeah, you
And-
can dwell on it for now, but
and I
you
said-
go to practice,
yep.
you fix those opportunities.
Or even
And I left it with, look, I'm proud of you. You tried your best. Do better next time.
That's it.
And that was it. And that's all we did. And I
Yep.
and in my mind, I'm like, I can't freaking believe you missed them goals. I'm like, God, why didn't you get it? But I was like, you cannot project this onto your child. Like,
Right.
she needs to want to go back tomorrow. I know she's 11, but She could have got them. I'm just
also,
saying.
too, I would add, like, is there anything you want to work on?
The anger I was feeling is definitely something I need to work on.
No, like with her.
Asking her, is there anything you want to work on?
Yeah.
For you, I would challenge instead of, she knows what she needs to do in the goal. Would you agree with that?
I mean, yes.
Yes. For the most part?
Yeah.
Okay. You telling her to use her body may or may not change it, but also, hey, it's okay. We're going to get the next one.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm a good fan. Because, let's be real, I can't really talk a bunch of shit about soccer because I don't know nothing about it. So I don't know when they're doing right or wrong, or when they blow a whistle or they're not. So I am the best.
So was that just your boiling point?
Yeah, that was... Well, and I think because for me, like, I think part of the goalie piece of it for me is, like, that's, like, the only thing I understand.
Yeah.
Don't let the ball go in the goal. Like, that is your job. I don't know, like, the other positions on where you can be in the field and what you can do and how, I don't know. I don't care. That goalie piece, hey, I know enough.
Yeah.
Don't freaking let it get by you.
And let me ask you this. Do you think those conversations, like, after softball, do you think it made you a better athlete? Or
No.
No.
I think what made me a better athlete and what made me want to work hard, I had some great coaches that pushed me.
Yeah.
And they coached us hard. Like, I had some that coached me hard and that were transparent. And I do believe, I think it's valuable. I think the running that I did, I think the drills that I did, and the demand for respect, stuff like that you had from those coaches, that's what made me a better athlete.
That's good that you're changing the narrative with that because I don't really understand it. You know, my kids play sports, but I didn't play sports. I did some theater in middle school, but there wasn't a whole lot to, like, show up for me.
Have fun.
Yeah.
When you're playing a sport. And that's the biggest thing, and I always am trying to be so aware of, like, please don't take the fun away from her.
Yeah.
Like, I say all the time, like, softball saved my life.
Yeah.
You know, if I didn't have those coaches, because I was already off the rails during that point in time, but I was so busy with softball, I wasn't allowed to go too far off the rails because I was too busy.
Yeah. If
I didn't have that, if I wasn't having that one piece of my life, then I probably would have been in jail. Because I tell her, I'm like, I don't care if it's band or if it's soccer or softball. Please let me do softball. But if it's not, you know, it's okay. You need to do something.
Yeah.
You need to do something to stay busy. Something that is going to keep you busy.
And I know, like, you want your kid to do the best, and, like, some people are riding on like athletes as far as, like, you want them to go far with this, but it just, like, all I think when people are yelling from the sidelines and getting stupid is they're kids
and they're not going to have fun. And if you take the fun from it, then you've ruined it for them.
Now you're making this game about you. If you get to the point where now the ref's got to talk to you or the ref's got to throw you out or whatever, now the attention's on you. Yeah. You're embarrassing your child and taking away what should be about them.
So I can say that's something that I'm changing about our parents too for our children. Is I think it's absolutely okay to embarrass your child in ways like when I drop Riley off in the car line, I'm like, I love you.
Well, yes, not on the sidelines.
Not on the sidelines of the game, but just in general. Let's be clear.
I'd love to do that. So Adelaide's friend came over the other day, and she plays D&D, and so I pulled out my dice. I showed her my minis. I was like, and Adelaide's just like, oh my god, mom, and I'm like, I love it.
The greatest thing, and I love it so much, is last time we drove up to New York, we stopped overnight at this hotel, and there was a McDonald's like out front there. So the next morning we got up and went to McDonald's for breakfast. Well, there was this kid in the drive-thru window, and oh, he's so cute. And so he comes back with our food, and I said, I just want you to know my daughter thinks you are so cute. And she's bah! Like, I just lost her whole mind. And so like 20 minutes, I can't believe you said that to him. Oh, I can't believe you said that to him. I'm like, Riley, you're never going to see that person again. And she's like, I can't believe you did that to me. And I will do it all day long.
And I think it's kind of hard to...
I got no issue with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always said that it was, like, hard to embarrass me, which I think it is. I think what really embarrasses... Being funny and weird and everything doesn't embarrass me. And I think Adelaide's to the point where it really doesn't embarrass her anymore either. But, like, acting a fool. Yeah. Or, like, when we go to a restaurant and, like, people are being them.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my god, put me on a different table.
Yeah.
That's the embarrassment that's where I get embarrassed.
Brian, what about you? You haven't said it. What is something that you are trying to change for your kids?
And it's tough for Brian too, because he got half of the not so great, and the other half was pretty okay.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing with me, and I touched on it in the last episode, is, patience and not being so quick to anger, because obviously saw dad jump quick to anger, and mom too, and so that's kind of something I want to avoid, being stern, but not like vocally or abusive or anything like that.
It still
Really
like
abusive.
affects me if like a grown man like yells at me or at the kids. So like if my ex would like yell at the kids, straight to tears.
Yeah.
Like it affects me so much.
You know, I don't want to create that environment. As you guys have mentioned, right? I want to build a house of love, but still be firm and stern with them. You know, when over little stuff. I mean, they're young, right?
Yeah.
And so they're obviously not as old as your girls. Yeah, they're just a baby.
Just a baby.
You know, they're not as old as your girls. You know, you can.
Pushing them buttons.
I'm their mother.
Yeah.
Not-
Brian,
not-
she's patient as hell.
You know, but you know, developing a way to get the respect of being a parent without fear, right? Kind of like what we said with Cindy in the last episode with Tara and Cindy, right? I mean, Tara respected her mother, but she didn't. I mean, she probably did fear her mother because her mother.
Yeah, but not in the way that.
But not in the way
fear
that.
of like retaliation. Of
Right, but
something.
not in the fear of how we would fear our parents.
You know
for
what
like,
I think is healthy? The fear of disappointing your parents. I think in that way of like you don't want to go against your parents because you don't want them to be disappointed. Not wanting to go against them because you might get whipped with a belt. Right?
But at the same time, like you don't want to disappoint them, but you also have that background of like they would never really be disappointed in me.
Yeah.
Like if I
tell the girls all the time, there is nothing you could do to make me not love you.
Yeah. So, and I think that's kind of the way that I am taking parenting. Again, I mean, right? I said this in the first episode. You kind of mentioned it, right? I didn't see myself ever becoming a parent. You know, once we had our first girl, you know, that's my first time. This is my first shot at it.
First shot.
Right? You know,
you're gonna get stuff wrong. You're gonna get stuff wrong with the second, third, and fourth shot too.
Yeah. And so, like, you know, it's just developing that, and you know, it's like, I think what is it? It's there's this video of Ryan Reynolds, and how he was talking about his wife Blake Lively, and he's like, when we got together, he's like, I would take a bullet for Blake, and then he got his first baby girl, and he's like,
I saw that, yeah.
There is nothing that anybody could ever do to take you away from me.
Yeah.
Right, and that's.
And I would put Blake in front of
Blake
you.
as a human shield.
I would use Blake as a human shield.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the point that I'm at. Like, I mean, and you can ask Mom. I mean, when our first came, I mean, I was brought to I was weak in the knees right at that, because there was just so there were so many things leading up to that, and I'm sure every dad, every parent.
I will never forget the look on your face when I brought you breakfast.
And yeah, just like that. And there are so many just thoughts going through my head, like, because obviously as a child, right, I got half good, half bad. As a child, right, I'm like, how do I be a dad?
Yeah.
Am I going to be a good dad?
Yeah.
How am I, what kind of parent do I want to be? What is this going to look like? Is like, how do I do this? Like,
and some of that stuff you don't learn until you are.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff you can think you're gonna be one kind of parent, and it's gonna might completely change on you.
And I had all these thoughts flying through my head, and as soon as she came out, and the first time that like Mom like popped her in my arms, my mind went quiet. And it is the quietest. Yeah, I know. It is the quietest that my head has like ever been.
It's pretty cool.
And
that
as you guys,
Josephine Jones.
yeah, and as you guys know, I mean, my head is everywhere.
Yeah.
All the time. All of the time. And I just sat there. I mean, I was in tears. I couldn't even take pictures. When she came out, I like threw my phone at Mom.
Yeah.
I was like, take pictures. I can't. I was bawling my eyes out. I'm pretty sure I cried more than Tara and the baby combined.
Tara's pretty out of it for Josephine.
Yeah, so, but that's kind of the approach that I'm taking. I'm just, little steps at a time, I can only control what I can control. It comes back to, like, I want to set the standard of when eventually they get older and they start looking into relationships and stuff like that. Like, they look...
It's not a fun time.
I get that, but that they find somebody that, hey, listen, I want to find somebody that's going to treat me the way that my father treated me.
Yeah.
That's going to respect me, that's going to love me, and spend a lot of money on me. So
I think that's huge. When I think about the relationships I've had, and just because I didn't think I was worth a shit, right? But also, too, is when you're raising boys, I just found out some friends of mine are having boys, and I'm so excited because I know that they're going to raise them to be respectable, to treat women well, to respect people's wishes. Like,
that is like one of the things that is like the most important that I think all of us are doing such a good job at is like our children need to understand their self-worth. They should be treated well. That is the only way they should be treated. And if they're not being treated well, they better feel like they can speak up and get out of that situation.
Absolutely.
Because, and I also want them to know, and you can always come to me, and I will come wherever you are.
Yeah.
And my favorite line that's I wear orange 5 days a week. I have no problem wearing it 7. For you, I will wear it 7.
And that's something that, again, when I talk about boundaries, is I know that you don't necessarily agree with me on this, but like, I don't make my kids hug people. You know, a lot of times when like people are leaving, they're like, give this person hugs. And I know my oldest does not like to be touched. So, and like other people get upset because, you know, Addie doesn't want to hug them. It's not about you. It's about what she's comfortable with and setting those boundaries. So even when like you guys tell like, your kids to give love, what do I always do? When you're like, go give Aunt Chloe a hug, only if you want to. And a lot of times they don't, and that's okay. Because it means they don't want to do it. And I know
I struggle with it.
You struggle with it because you're like, what's the big deal? And I would argue this, is that have you ever been in a situation where somebody has put their hands on you or hugged you, or a customer or somebody that's just a little too touchy-feely, and you don't speak up? You let it happen because there's this thing in your head that says they're on higher ground. No. And it's different for a man. So I would love to hear your opinion on it because it's so different for boys.
You can finish out.
Or anything like that where you felt that the level that you were on, well, they're a customer, so I should allow them to do this, or they're a family member, so I should allow them to do this, and not saying anything, no matter your comfort level. I know I have multiple times. I would not say I'm sure it stems from that, but I do think it contributes.
I think for me, I tell Riley give love, and I tell her that because we were not affectionate in our household, and we were made to give love and stuff to some of our extended family, and that would make me feel uncomfortable when I was younger, but I think that was because I wasn't affectionate in it at home. But I am glad that for every hug that I ever gave my great aunt, every time I hated when Grandma Mimi pinched my cheeks, but I am glad for that. And I think in situations like that, my aunts and my uncles, I'm glad for every hug I ever gave.
I don't feel like that.
But only because, you know, I think about Grandma. Thank God for every hug I ever gave that woman. Because I would be devastated to know I never, I hate knowing I couldn't give her more now, right? And so I feel that, and I think the reason, like, I stand in it still is because, obviously, so, you know, we're making the trip up to New York soon because Joe passed away, you know, Nani's husband, and great papa to our children, and grandfather to us, and he will be deeply, deeply missed. And I think about how Adelaide got upset when he explained to her the situation, and how many more I love yous could we have gave him?
Yeah.
How many more hugs she have gave him? And she very clearly has affection and loves her great papa. And I think that, like, in a situation like that, I think that it's not bad to say, hey, go give them love, because, you know, they're kids. They're going to be hesitant about it, but I think they will appreciate it in the long run. I'll never make Riley, if someone expresses to me like, hey, I don't want to hug that person, I would make her do it. But if I say go give love and they will go and do that, then 100%, I'm going to remind you all the time, go give love. Because we lost our grandmother young, you know, and I wish I could have gave her more hugs.
And that's to say too, is like, I would say I was never uncomfortable hugging those people though. You know, if I was truly uncomfortable.
Like, I was uncomfortable for everybody.
The same thing with Josephine is like, if I didn't say you don't have to, she would probably hug me. And it's very clear that she might not want to.
But I think
I know it's definitely
a rough subject because we just, you know, we're not going to agree on it. And I mean, I respect how you parent. That's your way of parenting. For me, you know, I feel stronger about that family aspect of that kind of piece of, like, I think we should encourage that, because I think we should encourage a connection to family if it is a safe.
Well, that also probably stems from me also being slightly outcast.
Yeah.
Because did talk too much. I was a little too much when I was younger.
Yeah.
And
I feel like when we do that, we're creating, like, I don't want to create a wall, and that's how I feel. I just don't want to make her feel like she can't express that love to her family, that she shouldn't. Like, she is such a love, and Natalie's not a lovable person like or Julie are. Natalie's affectionate. Yeah. She will give love. And
and that's the thing is, I used to do it when my kids were a little younger. I would do that until, like, Adelaide started to be like, she doesn't want to be touched really by anybody, and her friends hug her. So she's just very selective,
Right?
And that's okay.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a wrong way to do it.
I don't think there is either. I think it stands their own. I really do. For me personally, you know, if gets older and doesn't want to hug people, that's up to her. But I think when it comes to respecting our elders and our family, like, I just feel like I am going to encourage to give love. I don't really encourage her to give love to, like, you guys.
Yeah.
She does it on her own because she's a lovable person.
Yeah.
But those people that are coming in and out or we don't see as frequently, I encourage her to give love because it could be, in some case, the last time that she's able to give it. She is an emotional connection person.
Yeah.
So she's going to want
touch
to
is
have
definitely
that.
like one of her love languages.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. What do you feel about that, Ryan?
It's sway either way for me. I don't really know. Like, I don't disagree with the if you don't want to, you don't have to. I could care less, you know. I mean, but again, yeah, I would agree with the fact, like, I'm not gonna force it on anybody. I feel like because you really don't ever know, like, the last time that you're gonna see somebody, and you know, like, when you were talking about, like, working in, like, retail and, like, customers, I will slip a shoulder real quick.
Oh yeah, me too.
I do not get that personal. I will real quick. I don't get that. When it comes to that kind of stuff, I do not like being touched.
Yeah.
You know, you do not know me well enough to put your hands on me.
And maybe that's part of my people pleaser trait.
Maybe.
You know, is like allowing myself to be uncomfortable in situations.
It's
mostly gonna be Addie.
Listen, even if Addie doesn't want to hug, but she's like,
high five.
Hey, Tony, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, don't, like,
cool,
do
kid.
something, you know, like, and that's what I like.
That's
She did that with we were in Florida, and Nolan and his wife Regan showed up, and they went inside. Natalie was in there, and Nolan came out and said hi or whatever, and I said, "Oh yeah, just see." Natalie goes, "Yeah," and I got a fist bump. I said, "Oh."
Yeah.
I said, "That's all right then."
Yeah.
You know, I mean, something to say, like, "Hey, I acknowledge you, and I know that you're an important person," right? Like, you know, so.
I mean, because sometimes I can barely get a high five. I'll sit there, high five. No. I got myself.
She sure
don't
does.
Worry. I got myself. Don't worry.
But that's one of my big things I'm changing is allowing my children to kind of set their own boundaries, even still.
Someone take the door off your bedroom? Anybody else?
No,
but
when I asked them to,
was I the only one that lost their door?
I can't remember. I want to say I also lost mine, but I can't remember.
I mean, yours doesn't even count. I mean, because you had stairway up to the third floor, so you could lose your door and didn't really invade your privacy.
Is allowing my kids to set their own boundaries. I'm a very big. Here's the boy. I was a very big.
Boys do things behind closed doors too.
Yeah, but
you were the baby. You didn't.
Yeah,
you kind of really got away with everything.
Allowing them to set their own boundaries. So, like, my oldest, she's a very private person. She is private in her room. She's private, like, in the like, she doesn't even want you to see her brush her teeth. Super private, and that's okay. Like, I know it's hard for parents, but your kids are allowed privacy. Take that. My kids are allowed privacy. Let me put it that way, because it's not always something we had. And talking about taking the door off. After I split from my ex and had my own apartment for a while, and that got really rough, so I stayed with my parents for a little bit, and there's a rule that's like the door stays open for the bedroom, right? The door stays open when she's just in there on her bed. You know, she likes to read mangas, right?
For Adelaide?
Yeah, he would like walk by, open the door stays open. I knock on my children's door, which Elizabeth does not necessarily. She's like, I don't give him that much privacy. She's like, but I can see why you do it. But I will knock before I enter the bedroom.
I don't care if your door is shut.
Yeah.
Unless like I thought like you meant door, like when we talked about this before. I thought you meant doors open when you have company, like a boyfriend or something.
No, which she's not even interested in anybody.
Well, yeah, but I didn't know
she was 10 at the time.
Yeah, no, I think that's ridiculous. I think as a kid, like let them go be in their room.
They are allowed their privacy. She doesn't want it. She wants to read her books.
No, I think that's more of a selfish, like, you don't like the fact that they're
away
from
thing.
You. Yeah, away from you in your room. But like, you know, Riley, we let her keep her door shut. Especially like now, I tell Sam all the time now, like, I don't even feel like we have a kid anymore. Like, she comes home, like literally, she came home and got off the bus. Like, I just got home from work and I went in to use the restroom, and I heard the dog bark, so I thought someone was home. But then I came out and like no one was there. And then Sam came in the house and said, "Oh, were they barking at you?" And I said, because I hadn't seen yet. And Sam's like, "What do you mean you haven't seen her yet? She should have got off the bus." And I'm like, "She's not here. I just came out of the bath. Well, she was in her room, right in the room. Whoop, door shut, laying across her bed. Like, didn't even say hi. I'm home. She said I'm home, but I'd have heard her. You know, my house ain't that big. I'd have heard her yell, I'm home. But she's in there on her bed, and it is what it is. Like, you know, she's allowed her privacy for that and whatever.
Yeah, sometimes you need to decompress. School's a lot. There's a lot of times I work from home, and sometimes I need to.
So what I do when I miss my child is I'll say like, hey, you want to come watch a movie? And I'll pick a movie that I really don't want to watch, but I know she wants to watch. But at least we can have some quality time together.
Yeah, we'll watch some anime.
And that's what I do.
Or sometimes she just comes out. The other night, I was trying to do homework. And I was a little perturbed because I was trying to do homework, but she just was sitting there and talking to me. It was the night that she had found that anime, and I asked her not to watch it. So, and then she would just sit out there and talk to me. There's been times when I'm doing laundry in the bedroom, she'll just come in and talk to me. And
yeah, here's the thing with Adelaide in particular. She will talk to you.
Yeah.
If you're talking about something that piques her interest, she'll have a conversation, but you have to be willing to come down to her level.
Yeah.
Right? You have to meet her where she is.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, like, when she was going, like, when we went out to dinner, she was telling me about, like, her doctor's appointment and all this stuff. Like, she was just freely giving me this information because, one, she trusts me. She knows that I'm always going to listen to her and that we're going to have a conversation. And I'm going to talk about whatever she wants to talk about.
Yep.
Because I want to have the conversation. The same thing with Josie and Gia. They can be baby talking me to death. And I'm going to sit there and I'm going to talk to them the whole dang time about whatever they want to talk about. And it is what it is. Because sometimes they're going to run in their room and shut the door, and I'm going to just have to leave them be.
And, yeah, that was a big thing for me, because I was just like, why?
Yeah, that's
like, why? Like, why?
Yeah, I feel like it's only different for me and Tara because, I mean, our kids are so young, and, you know, Jude's mischievous.
Yeah, she can't be left alone.
So I don't say, like, you have to leave the door open, but I'm always like, hey, don't shut it, just leave it cracked a little bit.
Yeah.
So we can...
And it is,
and we'll tell them to
different
open the door, like, if something happens, like, when all the kids are together, like, if they're not getting along or whatever, then we'll say, hey, you're going to have to keep the door open.
Yeah.
You know, so we can hear what's going on or whatever it is. Like, that's definitely something that we all practice.
But just laying in a bed, reading a book, or whatever, and making them have the door open or
but
cracked.
But it's like, I don't. Probably I'm not going to knock. I'm probably going to say, hey, Riley, and open the door at the same time.
Yeah.
Well,
when she gets a little older, probably now as she's growing and she's going to start to go through puberty and stuff like that, like, I'm probably going to be more aware of that now than before. But before, I'm just going to walk in and be like, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, probably when
and Julie's door is not usually closed. Yeah. You know, that's just how different they are.
Probably as my girls get older and they, you know, creep up into, like, you know, your girls' age, right? I mean, I'm respectable enough that, you know, I'll probably knock on the door.
Yeah. I think when they're getting older, like when their bodies are starting to change and stuff like that's when you need privacy.
I don't know if you guys ever got that from anybody, like those kind of talks. Like,
I talked to you about stuff.
You did, but I'm saying as a parent though.
Yeah, I mean,
Nichole got a talk about like her period. So I didn't get a talk really.
Because
I didn't get much.
I think I was at the table for some sort of a talk, and every time Mom said penis, I laughed, and that should have been a sign. But I don't know if it's a real talk.
But like
I didn't know what was happening when I got my period.
So
I
like,
didn't either.
But like talk like that and like ending up with consequences, right? Like I couldn't go to dad for something like that. I mean, it was completely different for me. I mean, because if I were to go to dad and be like, hey, me and this girl are getting serious, what do I do? Well, dad's gonna be dad and say some stuff that he probably shouldn't have, and you know, probably grateful and by the grace of God that I don't have a bunch of little me's running around.
Well, I say all the time, you know, Mom, and I don't know what possessed her to do, but Mom putting me on birth control was the best thing she ever did for me, because I would 100% have been a teen parent. I had some daddy issues. There's no way I would have gotten out of that without a kid.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm very glad that I like women.
Yeah.
Because
I don't know what, I mean, I know I had a high school boyfriend, and she was like, we're gonna do this, and I was like, okay. I was actually already sexually active when she put me on birth control for like, it was only a few months, honestly, and we were using protection, but you know, down the line,
protection doesn't protect from everything, and it's not 100%, right? I remember like first time she asked about tampons, she said, "Why you put them in your butt?" Like that stuff was just so funny when they figured that stuff out. And like the first conversation I had with her, like we really had with her about where babies come from, like it was so funny. Like when she asked the question, and like I was just being silly, and I was like, you know, and the baby comes out, I was like, hello, and like like rolled on the floor for like hours about that, and like cause we just make it fun and lighthearted, like because we want her to be educated and we want her to be comfortable coming to us and having the conversation.
All right, well, I think we'll move in to our fun segment that we are going to call Facebook flashback.
Oh,
Back. Okay. All right. So, you guys go ahead.
Facebook flashback.
Will it be cringy or will it be funny?
What do you got, sis?
I got what looks like a really good recipe for slow cooker beef tips. But anyway, this was when we moved into our new house. Emphasis on the word house. We have our own mailbox. So this was the first place that was like standalone. So we lived in a townhouse before. We moved to this house. I was pregnant. I don't think I knew I was pregnant with Juliana yet. It was this little brown house, and we called it the mouse house. The kids still refer to it as the mouse house because it had some mice in there. 13 years ago, job hunting in Nashville. Wish us luck. 13 years ago, Beth to me, sister, I miss you.
Aww.
That was literally 2 days after I moved. And then everyone has started classes except for me. I actually want school to start. I don't feel like that anymore. Semester for me just started Monday. I'm taking business management classes to get my associates in business management, and I was not ready for it to start. I took the summer off this year, which I didn't do last year, and it was very nice. And then I have a lot of Mafia Wars and Vampire Wars, which I don't even remember those games, but apparently I was posting on Facebook about it.
Okay. Well, I have a lot of no content available, so, but I have a couple
Yeah, I have a few
I
of
don't know
those
why
too.
those are on there, but I have our most famous picture
Mm-hmm.
from, I'm sure Brian can share it, but if you don't.
Yeah.
Of the three of us at a
It's a
bowling
really good
alley.
picture.
It is a really great picture at a bowling alley, and it definitely like shows our. I got my hat on. Like Brian's got like an earphone in maybe or something. I don't know. I got something white on the side of your face. Could be my hat. Might be my hat.
I was in the bathroom with some cat. So.
Anyway, we were at a bowling event for work at the time for McDonald's, and so that was when all three of us were employed there.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about our Mick time and with our Mick family.
days.
And how we outlasted McDonald's on the thruway because it's no longer a thing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like,
And then
the empire that our mother built,
yeah.
what was known as Warner's, is now not there anymore. So
She opened it.
Now, have you been up that way since they changed all those out?
Yeah.
Like, but you haven't, have you? Like, to
Well,
the,
yeah, I
like,
was
the
just
new,
up there in
okay.
June, and I was on Carrier Circle, but I didn't like go by it or anything.
No, but you haven't driven up there, right?
No.
Like, wait till we drive up there. Like, they're weird. They're like,
they're bougie and fancy
yeah,
now.
They're like green and bougie, like recycled green. You know, like green, and like a lot of them have like multiple restaurants in them, but like they're just fun. The other thing I got that I want to talk about that I'm super stoked to talk about, it's one of my favorite memories ever, is I have a post from 2010 that
So that would have been
I
the year
just
before we
turned
moved here.
21.
Yep.
And it says, at Sodas Bay with the fam, knocking back them shots like a champ with my sis and aunt. Aunt Cindy is a beast.
Oh my gosh, Sodas Bay was so fun. And you were fresh
just
21.
turned 21.
Yeah.
I just had my tattoo because I had it like saran wrapped on the boat we were on.
Yeah, I sprained my ankle jumping off the boat into shallow water.
Yep.
And yeah, so we went out with our aunt and uncle and got sloshed
Man.
because we could walk to the bar
Yeah.
where we were. And then
Man.
came home and like just ate like out of pizza boxes because apparently everybody else had gotten pizza for dinner.
Yeah. No, that was so much fun. And there's some of the
So
best.
much
There's
fun.
no picture on that post, but we have some pictures that like we got to talk about with our
I think I
aunt
sent
not
one
that
to
long
you.
ago.
I think I sent it to you.
And
The picture of
yeah.
the three of you?
Yeah, of the four of us.
Oh,
yeah,
the
and
four.
well, me and Nichole and Nancy actually recreated one of those pictures.
Yeah.
When we were in Florida in February.
Yeah.
It was just such a fun time, you know, and like that's one of those like really great memories I think we have with like Aunt Cindy and Uncle Kippy. You know, their kids are around Brian's age, a little younger than Brian, so like we didn't see them a ton, but like we have I have several memories with them that are fond, you know, but
Yeah.
they were kind of rare. So
Yeah.
that one is probably like my favorite,
We were dominantly with our dad's family when we
Yeah.
did stuff.
mostly.
Which is funny because that's a very different dynamic than most families. A lot of
Yeah.
families are like, you see like these memes that's like when you realize you're going to be your son's mom,
yeah.
you know, and
I think that's so. Like I feel like that's like
In
one of the
marriage.
first times we met. Like, is it Nani and Joe rented the house out there?
Yeah.
And I think that's like one of the first times like family events we had with like Joe and like his daughter and family. So like
Yeah.
like I think about that and I'm like, man, he really kind of got to see our crazy at that point and stuck around, you know,
Yeah.
because you know we were loud and fun, and then we all went and got hammered at the bar down the road and walked back, and it really was so much fun. I remember taking the shot. What was that shot?
was it a slippery nipple?
Was it
Oh no,
a
the
blowjob
blowjob,
with like
yeah.
the whipped cream, and you had to take it without your hands, and Like we were doing that, and it was just a good time.
Yeah.
So, and it was beautiful outside. And you had the water there. I remember there was a house we were out on the boat, and there was a house on one of the edges there that I was like, someday when I win the lottery, I'm gonna knock on that door and buy that house. And it's beautiful, big windows in it and stuff. And I'm like, it's just a gorgeous house. And someday I'm gonna knock, and I'm just gonna tell the owner how much you want for this house.
Straight cash, homie. Straight cash.
I'm still waiting for that day. So here I moved to Middle Tennessee and stuff.
Do you have anything on yours?
I did. So a couple of things that I have on here.
So far, we have not had any cringy.
Nothing cringy.
You know what I did have though? Sorry, Brian. I did have one of those surveys. Should I read the survey?
Oh, yeah, like the About Me surveys.
Yeah.
Basically, for me, all it was first day of college after, I got abandoned. And, I was washing dishes.
Look at how tall you are.
I know.
He was like as tall. If these pictures, he's as tall as the
cabinets in a college dorm room. The only one that really stands out to me is this one from 9 years ago. So you guys ever see those posts where it's like, 89 days until Christmas, 100 days until whatever. So I got really annoyed with those, and there was me and a buddy that worked. We were like, we should just start making those posts for just ridiculous holidays. So I posted 198 days until St. Patrick's Day. Can't wait for green beer. Because it's just ridiculous. People will be like, 243 days until I turn 21. Like, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Actually, the ones like so many days till Christmas give me
days until October.
Yeah, the ones like so many days till Christmas now as a parent give me real anxiety.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I don't
care
even know
about
how
those.
much time I don't have.
The only countdown that I care about is during the summer when it's like we only got 5 more Sundays until football's back on.
Yeah.
Those are the only ones that I care about. I don't care about your Columbus Day. I don't care about your Labor Day weekend, or anything like that. The stuff that matters.
All right, what's your survey say, Nichole? Survey says.
Okay, survey. So this is where it might get a little cringy, guys. We might get some
survey says.
Okay, last text message was from Brother.
That's me. That's me, guys. That's me.
Did the last person you kissed have any tattoos? They don't. Would you ever get a tattoo? Got 2.
Ooh.
Would you rather have long or
Badass.
short hair? I really don't mind either. When's the next time you'll hug someone? Later, hopefully.
Aww.
Little heart.
Aww.
Do you trust all of your friends? Yeah, otherwise they wouldn't be my friends.
It does.
Do you think the last person you kissed cares for you? I do. Heart emoji. Have you ever kissed somebody you weren't dating? Yes. Have you kissed somebody in 2009 that means a lot to you? A whole lot. With heart emoji. And these, it's literally the 3 and the V.
The 3, yeah.
Does plans for Saturday? None. Working. Does anybody call you babe? Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever fallen asleep with the last person you kissed? All the time. And this one is the equal sign with the D. The happy face. Have you ever dated anyone just for their looks? Nope. What woke you up today? Text message. What were you doing last Saturday night? Hanging out with my boo and the 2 and signs.
The ampersands.
Yeah. Working. D smiley face. Who was the last person you ate with? Sister? Question mark. Is there anyone that deserves to get slapped? Oh yeah.
Uh-oh.
Are you good at hiding your feelings? I can be. Oh yes, I can. Do you prefer to call or text? Text with lots of X and T's. Oh my, this is so 2010.
Who calls anymore?
I mean, I still prefer to text. Like, please don't call me. Do you think somebody likes the same person you do? I don't know. IDK. Doesn't matter, I suppose. Heart emoji.
He's wearing it out.
Oh my god. The person you have feelings for shows up at your house right now. What do? Kiss him. Heart emoji. Who was the last person to call you? I don't know. Best friend? Question mark. Do you have an older brother? Nopes. With the S. Nopes. Where was the last place you fell asleep other than your own bed? And it's Dave's bed.
Yeah.
D smiley face. Who was the last person you talked to on the phone for over an hour or 2? No one. I hate the phone. What time did you go to sleep last night? Around 2 a.m. Ooh. Have you kissed more than 10 people this year? Ew, no. So judgy. Oh my god. The overuse of the heart. Oh my god.
Emojis before emojis.
Yeah, the emojis before emojis.
Type that. Back in my day, we had to type out our emojis.
You know what I was thinking about literally like yesterday is the fact that the talk to text for the kids.
Yeah.
Like they use it so much. I'm like, I had to hit 87 letters to get to T. What is this?
Yeah, no doubt.
Or numbers.
And if you missed it, oh.
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah. Yeah,
we created those little shorthand because of those texts.
Yeah,
TY
because of
stuff.
T9.
This is so oh my god.
TY, TTYL, BRB, LOL, all that.
Yep.
All
this
because
off topic a little bit. Not really. It's not a Facebook memory. It should be, but
just a nostalgic memory.
Just like funny recent memory is I shared it in our group family message. With speaking of like the TYs and LOLs. So my daughter, the kids now, all they do is text and friggin' letters.
Yeah.
That's all I do.
You can always tell when it's talk to text versus when they actually text.
Yeah. So my daughter forgot her cleats, right? Forgets her cleats and for practice, and she texts my wife and she said, "Mom," so I'm gonna read this like I know it's Raleigh. "Mom, I literally forgot my cleats. At the end of the day, can you bring them to me?" And then she gives the straight face emoji and the crying emoji. And then what does it for me is she sends an SOS.
Yeah.
So sends an SOS. But all the words, right? Full text. "Mom, I literally forgot my cleats." Full text. At the end of the day, can you bring them to me? So 2 full texts, right? Because she has a problem. Well, my wife sends her back that I was getting off early that day and I could bring them. "Mom, fix the problem." Okay, TY. No more full words.
No more full words.
No more full words. Right back to 2 letters,
yeah.
And there you go. I can it just drives me.
I mean, they text like they're getting charged per character.
Yeah. Like they're gonna run out of minutes because they get charged. You don't know the pain.
Hey, call me after 9 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this one has an apostrophe in it, guys. That was definitely talk to text.
Yeah,
what's the Wi-Fi password? But then when I text her, I'm like, "Hey, you made it to the bus?" Yeah.
Yeah.
YA.
YA. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When I get Riley will talk to me in she'll say,
"Oh, sorry. Can Lily come over after school?" Yes. ALR. All right.
That's all right.
ALR.
See, I don't even. I'd be looking at that like, what's she saying?
Or.
See, and that's what some of them short. At least ours made sense. Okay, when we shorthanded words, it made sense. The shit they have does not make no sense anymore. Maybe I'm just old. I don't know. Either way, it's don't be making no sense.
That could be an episode. Just different lingo.
We can get a whiteboard. And what does skibbity mean? What does Riz mean?
All right, so talked about our Facebook flashbacks. We're talking about setting boundaries, right? As a topic of today's episode. So do we have anything else kind of circling back to?
A little recap.
Yeah.
Well, I have one more thing I think that I'm trying to do differently. And I talked about this before, is it really hurts when the girls are down and hard on themselves. So I've really tried to make sure. So one thing in my childhood, and one thing that probably affected me the most, is being used things that were said to me.
Yeah.
I had acne.
Yeah.
And for the sake of a joke, family members would call me crater face.
Yeah.
Thunder thighs, hippo hips. For the sake of a joke, would say that to me, and that really, obviously, really affected my self-image that I still struggle with. I had a girl, and these guys can attest to it. How many times have you seen me in short sleeves?
Never.
Yeah, almost never.
I'm trying to get better with it because it's just too hot.
Yeah.
Down here. But in 7th grade, there was a girl in my class. And I always say it's the only person in my life that I hate. But she said out loud, and there was a girl that actually stood up for me, which I am forever grateful for. Unfortunately, the damage was done. But she's like, "Oh my God, her arms are as big as my thighs," and I have terrible self-image with my arms, because I do have very big arms. I don't know what it is. I think people are just gonna be hard on themselves anyways. But I've always tried to tell my kids they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Tell them that they're smart. Tell them that they're worthy.
I think
stuff like that.
Yeah, all kids are gonna go through. As your own body changes, you're always gonna compare to things around you.
Yeah.
And you have to just, I think, have the people, the important people in your life that you listen to tell you the right thing. They'll tell you that you are okay how you are. Like, it's okay, like that you're beautiful and you're smart and that you're worthy and that you're good enough for whatever you do. I think so. Had a lot of good conversation around boundaries and around what we're intentionally changing for our kids, and
know our backstory now.
Yeah, a little know about kind of what started us on our healing journey. And look, by no means are we done. We got a long way to go, and maybe we'll share each other's stories around where we're each at personally down the line. But
don't you worry, guys. There'll be some more, not such deep dives too.
I think that next episode we should do a game day.
Let's talk about games.
No, like play a game.
Play a game and bullshit.
Yeah. Like, I think that'd be fun after. We had a couple pretty heavy episodes.
Yeah, I definitely think we need to hit a lighter episode, so next time we can... Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll bring something fun your way for next time.
Hey, guys, also make sure that you don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us at Updownstate Podcast, or PDcast, on all social media platforms. If you can't watch these videos, you can listen to them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Anywhere that you go, you can take us with you. And listen on your way to work or on your way home or anything that you...
Or cleaning
or anything that you want to do, you can listen to us.
Anything that doesn't require your ears for other reasons.
That's right. If you just want to tune out your kids, throw us on.
And we'll tell you all about ours.
That's right. We got plenty to share. But until then, we will talk to you guys next time.
Bye.
Peace out.
Yeah.